So Tna Slammiversary 2014 took place in Arlington, Texas. The show starts with a six-way ladder match for the X Division Championship. Sanada defending against Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, Tigre Uno, Manic, and Crazy Steve. Good match. The match ends with Richards and Edwards facing each other next to the upright ladder in the ring, each man contemplating as to whether he should try to retrieve the belt hanging above. They both go up from opposite sides. Richards and Edwards exchange blows and then make the transition to headbutting each other. Sanada comes back into the ring and pulls Edwards down from the ladder. Sanada sets up for a suplex, but Edwards reverses it and both men go over the top rope to the floor. Manic springboards from the ring apron onto the ladder, and he and Richards attempt to grab the belt. Manic bashes Richards' head on the top of the ladder and then executes a sunset flip powerbomb onto the ladder that is bridged from the upright ladder to the middle rope. Sanada goes up the ladder and Edwards fails to prevent him from grabbing the belt. The winner of the match, Sanada. What separates a good match from a great match sometimes are things that one wishes didn't happen. In this match, we saw Sanada, the American Wolves, and Tigre Uno ridiculously run into Crazy Steve's revolving ladder. We also saw Richards and Edwards having to face off against each other. And that points to a major criticism of the X Division, that being the lack of new contenders. We also saw Sanada easily climbing the ladder and retrieving the belt without any dramatic struggle, serving as a bridge to the conclusion of the match. A significant positive was the non-involvement of the menagerie, which could have turned this into a crap fest. Sanada retaining the title was the proper decision because it continues his storyline of doing what he needs to do to continue to impress Muta. And that means remaining champion. So then we see the Black Brigade come out onto the stage. Montel Porter blasts the fans for raining booze on him because of his injury, and he trashes Jerry's house as extra sauce. He says that he can't comprehend Dixie Carter getting the board of directors to squash him since he has made it his goal to improve the company. Porter says that the board has given him the permission to declare that Eric Young will still put up the title inside the steel cage, but he will face two opponents that will be the winners of two matches: Robert Lashley versus Samoa Joe, and Kenny King versus Austin Aries. Porter says that he won't interfere in either match and hands the mic to Kenny King. King puts over the Brigade as men who don't lose and goes for a cheapie as he lays into the Cowboys for doing that in the postseason. He proclaims that Young won't leave the building with the belt and that Austin Aries is his. Porter takes the mic and says that it's time for Samoa Joe to deal with Robert Lashley. So he sends Lashley to the ring, and that leads to Robert Lashley versus Samoa Joe. Decent match. The match ends with Lashley applying a nerve hold to Joe's shoulder. Joe gets to his feet and gives a quick shot to the midsection, and Lashley responds with a quick knee. He comes off the ropes, but Joe nails him with an enziguri. After a brief exchange, Joe delivers a reverse atomic drop and then comes off the ropes with a kick to the face, following that up with a senton bomb. He goes for the pin, but Lashley kicks out. Joe whips Lashley toward the corner, but Lashley reverses the whip. Lashley charges, but Joe gives him a uranagi. He locks into the rear naked choke, but Lashley backs him into the corner and pops him with elbows. He goes up to the middle rope and prepares to pound but Joe reverses Lashley's position and props him on the top turnbuckle. Joe bangs him with a chop and goes for the muscle buster, but Lashley knocks him away with a punch. He sends Joe into the turnbuckle and attempts to whip him across, but then sends him back to the original corner, which almost causes Joe to collide with referee Earl Hebner. Lashley takes advantage of Joe's brief distraction and drills him with the spear for the 3. The winner of the match, Robert Lashley. Lashley won this match for 2 reasons. Both he and King were not going to be in the main event together because it would decrease the competitiveness of that match. And Lashley is the more favorable choice because of the push that he's getting. Also, Joe's endurance has been questionable for the last 2 years, and his performance at Lockdown was the most recent example of that. TNA couldn't see his energy level meeting the demands of wrestling twice, with that second match being a cage match, so they went with Lashley. So then we see Jeremy Borash in the Carter Suite with Dixie Carter and Rockstar Dud. Dixie said nothing significant, and Dud was insignificant as always. Next. So then we have Magnus, accompanied by Bram, versus Jeff Willow, accompanied by Abyss. Decent match. The match ends with Willow nailing Magnus and Bram with a trust fall dive from the top rope onto the ring floor. While Willow and Magnus are down on the floor, Bram and Abyss go at it in the ring. Bram comes off the ropes but gets decked with 2 short clotheslines from Abyss. Abyss crushes Bram in the corner and throws him out of the ring. As Abyss leaves the ring, Willow and Magnus re-enter, and Willow hits him with the Twist of Fate twice. He goes for the pin, but Magnus kicks out. On the outside, Bram has a steel turnbuckle in his hand, but Abyss counters that by pulling out his signature. Abyss uses it to back Bram up the entranceway. Back in the ring, Willow hits Magnus with a back elbow in the corner and goes to the top rope, but Magnus pushes his leg back and sends him to the mat feet first. He executes a back suplex side slam on Willow and gets the pin. The winner of the match, Magnus. This was a proper win for Magnus because it establishes a starting point for the redefinition of his character. However, because of that redefinition, we should have seen more violent tendencies from him in this match. But that should be displayed soon. With Abyss's involvement in this program, there will be singles matches as well as tag team matches, both standard and gimmick. The important thing is that when this series ends, Magnus and Bram will be fully prepared to challenge for the World Tag Team Championship. So then we see Jeremy Borash in the ring for the TNA Hall of Fame induction announcement. He introduces Kurt Angle, who tells us that Team 3D will be the newest members. And Bully Ray and Devon come to the ring. Bully Ray tells Devon that he's proud to have him by his side and says that the fans are responsible for their success. And then Devon takes the mic and says that he thought he was finished when he left the company last year. And he also says that if he's done for good, being inducted with Bully Ray is the best way to sign off permanently. The issue here isn't whether Bully Ray and Devon deserve to be recognized for their contribution to the business. They do. The issue here is why individuals who were responsible for the establishing and building of the company continue to be ignored. AJ Styles, as deserving as he is, was going to be unlikely because of the obvious, even though the bullshit could have been set aside. Jeff Jarrett was reportedly seen in the Carter Suite during the evening. If that's the case, could the situation have been feasible enough that Jarrett could have been inducted? It should have been. So then we see Jeremy Borash backstage with Ethan Carter III. Ethan mockingly applauds the Team 3D induction and says that once he defeats Bully Ray as he did the previous two inductees, Sting and Kurt Angle, no one will be able to deny his greatness. And when he beats Bully Ray, he'll be doing it for the Carter clan. Lame catchphrase. Ethan continues to come off the best when he portrays himself in a solo context. Detaching himself from Rockstar Dud and the Carter references, that being Dixie, would allow him to continue growing. So then we have Austin Aries versus Kenny King. Good match. The match ends with Aries going for a running drop kick and getting put down by a boot from King. King hits Aries with a cartwheel kick and follows that with a spine buster. He goes for the pin with his feet on the middle rope, but the referee shoves his feet off. King gets into Brian Hebner's face, and Aries takes advantage by spinning him around and clocking him with a discus forearm. He rolls King up for the pin, but King kicks out. Aries quickly applies the last chancery, but King somehow breaks free. King grabs Aries by the back of his neck and propels himself over the top rope to the floor, causing Aries' neck to come down on the top rope, thus sending him back to the mat. King executes a springboard blockbuster. He goes for the pin, but Aries kicks out. King brings Aries outside onto the ring apron and positions himself by sitting on the top rope as he brings Aries with him. King hoists Aries on his shoulders, but Aries gives him simultaneous knee and elbow shots to the head, places himself in front of King on the middle rope, and executes the brainbuster to get the 3. The winner of the match, Austin Aries. He goes on to face Eric Young and Robert Lashley for the world title in the main event. As previously stated, both King and Lashley weren't going to be in the main event together because it would have decreased the competitive quotient. With this match, it wasn't necessarily about Aries being the obvious choice to keep the competitiveness high, but it was about arguably the best wrestler being involved in the championship circle where he belongs. Now that he's there, he should remain there, even if he loses. So then we see Jeremy Borash in the ring, and he introduces Kevin Von Erich along with his sons, Marshall and Ross Von Erich. Kevin gives some words, and that leads into Marshall and Ross Von Erich versus the Glorified Jobbers, Mr. Duh and Zema Ion. Okay match. The match ends with Mr. Duh using a chair on both Von Erichs, which results in Marshall and Ross winning by disqualification. The best moment came after the match when Kevin Von Erich entered the ring, disposed of Mr. Duh, and locked the claw on Zema Ion. Seeing Kevin do that took me back to the world-class days in the 80s when the Von Erich family feuded with the Fabulous Freebirds. And that program launched the promotion into prominence, and it's still one of the best feuds in professional wrestling history. Marshall and Ross looked okay in this match. They appeared stiff and clumsy at times, but they also showed promise. But why didn't TNA allow them to get a clean win? They took the time to acknowledge the Von Erich history and what they have meant to the Dallas wrestling area. Yet they were denied a clean win. The Jobbers would not have suffered from a clean loss. They're a joke anyway. Whether TNA is serious about signing Kevin's sons doesn't affect the fact that a nostalgic moment was tainted by a terrible decision. So then we see Jeremy Borash backstage with the beautiful people. Angelina questions why Gail Kim is considered the best female wrestler when she has held the women's championship more times than Gail has. Borash brings up the fact that Angelina only became a 6-time title holder because of Velvet assisting her. And Velvet steps in and says that they do everything together. And that was it. So then we have the Women's Championship. Angelina Love defending against Gail Kim. Decent match. The match ends with referee Earl Hebner grabbing Velvet Sky by the arm and escorting her up the entranceway because of her hitting Gail with the spray. Hebner decides to eject referee Brian Stifler and take his place as the official. Gail hits Angelina with kicks to the midsection and the forearm. She comes off the ropes and delivers a clothesline and follows that with a dropkick. Gail dishes out a forearm and comes off the ropes with another clothesline to Angelina. She executes a neckbreaker and goes for the pin, but Angelina kicks out. Gail charges toward Angelina in the corner, and Angelina sidesteps her, but Gail jumps to the middle rope and comes off with a flying body press. She goes for the pin, but Angelina kicks out. Gail goes up onto the middle rope in the corner and starts pounding on Angelina, but Angelina dumps her to the mat and jackknives her, using the middle rope for leverage. Senior Hebner sees it and breaks it up. Gail tries to take advantage of Angelina arguing with Senior by attempting a dropkick, but she knocks him down. While Hebner is down, Angelina comes up behind Gail and rolls her up, but Gail kicks out and responds with the eat defeat. She goes for the pin for longer than 3 seconds, but Hebner is still down and Stifler is pretending to give a shit. Gail tries to get Senior to his feet and Angelina attempts to grab her from behind, but Gail whips around and rolls Angelina up. Hebner is still down. Angelina reverses the roll up and Stifler then comes into the ring to deliver the 3 count. The winner of the match, Angelina Love. Welcome to Fuckfest Central. Match integrity is always going to be questioned when corrupt referees permeate the storyline, and this was a clear reflection. Why buy into a match when an official is placed in that role? Also, why was Stifler allowed to make the 3 count and have that decision stand when he had been removed by Senior? Junior Hebner could have come down and should have come down and made the count. In other words, Gail Kim should have won the damn title. With Taryn Terrell returning soon, the belt needs to be on Gail in order to start the slow build between these two, leading up to a potential 3rd match at Bound for Glory. So then we see Bully Ray and Devon backstage, still reacting to the fan response from their induction announcement. Bully Ray wants to know if Devon is going to hang with him for his match against Ethan Carter III, but Devon chooses to pass because he's going to do Daddy Day with his boys. After Devon leaves, Bully Ray is asked about Ethan. He says that Ethan's mouth is why they're having a Texas death match. Bully Ray drops some old school references relating to Texas, such as the Von Erichs, the Fabulous Freebirds, Stan Hansen, and Terry Funk. He says that if Ethan has a savior to seek help from, he needs to seek. And Bully Ray says that Ethan's loyalty may be with Dixie Carter and the Carter clan, but he will answer to him as the red stuff flows. And that leads into the Texas Death Match, so called. Bully Ray versus Ethan Carter III. Decent match. The match ends with Ethan laid out across 2 tables outside the ring as Bully Ray prepares to drill him from the top rope. Dixie Carter comes down to the ring and stands over Ethan as she yells at Bully Ray. Bully Ray steps down from the ring apron and chases, if that's what that was, Dixie around the ring. Dixie turns toward Bully Ray and backs away from him as Ethan is on his feet again. Dixie turns and starts to run and collides with Ethan, yet Dixie sells this as if she was hit by a cement truck, because she's unconscious. Bully Ray catches a stunned Ethan with a right shot and looks down at Dixie. He picks her up and lays her across the tables and goes up onto the ring apron. As Bully Ray contemplates how he's going to come off the ring apron, Ethan hits him from behind with the kendo stick. Rockstar Dud pulls Dixie off the tables and Bully Ray falls off the ring apron and eats wood. The referee counts Bully Ray out for the 10. The winner of the match, Ethan Carter III. Let's state the obvious. This wasn't a Texas death match. In a Texas death match, with the stipulations of no DQ and pinfalls or submissions anywhere understood, a wrestler has to be pinned or made to submit before the 10 count is initiated. If the wrestler makes it to his feet before the count of 10, the match continues. If not, the match is over. This match was a last man standing match, not a Texas death match. Bully Ray's cutter on Ethan onto the glass was solid, but if brutality is supposed to be sold here, using real glass would have helped. The collision between Ethan and Dixie was laughable, but the one thing that stood out was Bully Ray's hesitation to serve Dixie the wood. Yes, he was delaying so that Ethan could hit him from behind, but the visual perception received is that Bully Ray didn't look to be as eager and obsessed to finish the goal. Since it didn't happen here, the hope is that this storyline is not stretched until Bound for Glory. That is too long of a time range for this. This was the time that it needed to happen. If not now, when? So then we have James Storm versus Mr. Anderson. Okay match. The match ends with Anderson executing a super rolling fireman's carry slam on Storm from the middle rope. He goes for the pin, but Storm kicks out. Storm hits Anderson with a super kick that knocks him out of the ring. Storm goes to the outside, grabs his beer bottle, and starts jawing with members of the Dallas Cowboys that no one knows, likely outside of Dallas, sitting at ringside. Storm takes a swig of beer and spits it at George Selvey. Security gets in there and Storm goes back into the ring with the beer bottle in his hand. He shoves the referee down and prepares to hit Anderson with it. Selvey tries to grab at Storm's leg, and Storm turns to face him, and that distracts him long enough for Anderson to level him with the mic check to get the pin. The winner of the match, Mr. Anderson. And after the match, Selvey and the rest of the Dallas Cowboys that no one knows outside of the Dallas area, among football friendlies, of course, come into the ring to celebrate with Anderson. Storm should have won this match because he would have had more to gain. He lost his program with Gunner, and a win here would have been a possible restart toward a championship challenge run. This match served more of a purpose of TNA's attempt to be seen on SportsCenter. Note the TNA. Since that was your obvious goal, maybe you should have had a Cowboys player that the rest of the country knows. Tony Romo gets you on SportsCenter. George No Name Selvey and the Who the Fucks don't. So then we see Jeremy Borash backstage with Eric Young. Before Young can give his prep promo, Austin Aries comes into the shop. Aries tells Young that any crap between them from the past has to stay there because it's about the belt, and that he's winning it. Young puts over his two opponents with specifics on Robert Lashley and says that he's crazy, that he's a crazy champion, and to keep the belt he has to be crazy. So then we have the World Heavyweight Championship inside a steel cage. Eric Young defending against Robert Lashley and Austin Aries. Great match. The match ends with Lashley on the ring floor after spearing the cage door, and Young attempting a piledriver on Aries. Aries backdrops him, but Young rolls up Aries. However, Aries escapes the pin attempt and delivers a dropkick to the face. The two men exchange blows before Aries hits Young with a series of blows. He comes off the ropes with an attempted discus forearm, but Young ducks and comes off the ropes with his flying fist, but misses. Aries hits Young with the discus forearm, takes him to the corner, and delivers a second one. He goes to the opposite corner and hits Young with a running dropkick. Young staggers about, and Aries quickly sets him up for the brainbuster. He takes Young up, but Young pushes off the side of the cage with his feet and uses the momentum to go over Aries and land upright. Young executes a piledriver on Aries to get the 3. The winner of the match, Eric Young. Show ends. Eric Young's victory sets up two potential angles. Montel Porter's injury provides a clear path for Robert Lashley to get a bigger push and bring the title to the Black Brigade. It also sets up a possible Destination X title match with Austin Aries because the Option C scenario is on the horizon, and Aries will be the centerpiece. The question is, which one will face Eric Young? But the bigger question is, will TNA continue thanking Young for his 10 years by keeping the belt on him? The decision of whether to keep Young as champion will be a creative one and externally, yet a business one internally. Business always wins. But which way? I'm Tazmar 2002, and that was my Tna Slammiversary 2014 analysis for June 15th, 2014. If you're listening to me on YouTube, please leave your comments below. Click the like or dislike button, and if you subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you're listening to me on the Wrestling News Talk Facebook page, you can leave your comments below. Click the like button if you like what I've been saying. If you have any questions or comments for me about TNA or wrestling in general, you can get at me on Twitter, Tazmark2002, that's TAZMARK2002. And if your comments exceed the 140, get at me with an email, Tazmark2002@gmail.com. Be sure to listen to the TNA Impact review that I do with Chuck P. live every Monday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time on Chuck P's YouTube channel. And if you can't watch us live, you can always watch the archive. This was a solid show, despite the poor build. Solid show. With Slammiversary concluded, TNA Impact has finished their run at Universal Studios in Orlando and will now take the show on the road. It is beneficial for TNA to showcase themselves in front of actual wrestling fans instead of theme park visitors. And it is the crucial step toward the hopeful goal of broadcasting the show live each week. TNA's marketing effort continues to be the anchor that drags the company ship. If creative and marketing can balance the scale as TNA makes the road its new home, the company can find positive consistency. They just need to cut that anchor. I'm Tazmar 2002. Gone.